Ugh. I get carried away. Whoa, Jameson, there we go. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, next up is Director Lefebvre.
Thank you, Worship. What I have is the director highlights that'll be coming up just later in the meeting.
Okay. And Director Saskew, do you have anything other than your director highlights, or?
I'm the same as Director Lefebvre right now.
So why don't we just pull that out and put it under director highlights from here on? Or is it just, because there's nothing underneath there, I shouldn't be reading this off? Okay. Well, I see there's something under CAO Leggett, so let's move quickly over to that.
There is. Thank you, Your Worship. I get to speak for staff here today. So I got a good one in front of you. So I'll read off the memorandum to council here, dated today's date, and the topic is municipal enforcement priorities for 2023, proposed by myself and then Alan Weiss, our protective services manager. Background on this item: in keeping with the proposal on the recently presented foundational documents list, administration is looking to create a more collaborative approach with council with respect to setting the municipal enforcement priorities for the upcoming year. To this end, staff is suggesting that ME focus on 5 main things for the balance of 2023. These include, number 1, derelict properties, and we consider those to be the burnt out / uninhabitable type properties. 2, unsightly properties, as defined in the Community Standards Bylaw, with emphasis on yards, unsightly housing, and unfinished construction / renovations. So the folks that have taken the siding off and you know, the house is covered in Tyvek and has been that way for a number of years. Number 3, traffic, including speeding, DUI, seatbelts, and distracted driving. Safety, which would include public, general public safety, safety of children, cycling safety, dog walking safety, that type of thing. And then education, which, having recently attended the RCMP's public house there, I think the emphasis for education this year should be on property crime prevention. That came out as one of the main themes from that RCMP public house there. So that would be things like educating the public on, you know, if you leave your bicycles on the driveway overnight, you're kind of asking for them to get stolen, and you know, those type of things. Lock your sheds, lock your garages, vehicles. So financial implications will depend on the level of involvement and the specific files. However, most of the labor-related work is included in the municipal enforcement operational budget for the year. Some demolition costs may be incurred for any of the derelict properties that are not salvageable. These may run in the $10,000 to $20,000 range each if the town is not able to get voluntary compliance from the owners. The communication strategy is a multi-part strategy here. So initially, a comprehensive community notice plan will be issued using all the town's available avenues, and sufficient time will be given for residents to address issues before any campaign begins. The town would also like to offer site inspections by municipal enforcement for any member of the public who would like to have a preliminary inspection completed by municipal enforcement ahead of any enforcement campaign. And that would be for both, you know, the unsightly type properties as well as the education piece. So we think it'd be a good idea to offer municipal enforcement to go over and just do you know, one of our officers was a former police officer. So, hey, you know, can you come over to my house and take a look and see if I'm secure, if I've prevented, you know, if I'm well protected from property crime. So the options presented today are that, number 1, council bring forward the recommendations as presented to the March 27, 2023 meeting of council for adoption. Number 2, the council amend the staff recommended priorities, or that number 3, council does not direct any specific priorities for 2023, and we just sort of continue as we have, responding to calls as they come in.
Okay. Any thoughts, any discussions? Go ahead, Councillor Riddick, start us up.
So I have 2 questions. So what I'm wondering is the workshop that we had previously about municipal enforcement, is there anything that has changed materially? I mean, I don't see too much from the conversation that was had and some of the questions that were asked about how this would proceed. Is there anything that's changed?
No, thanks, Councillor Rick. And that was basically the reason for you know, holding that and then bringing that back in the format it is today, was just to really solidify the discussion there from that workshop and put it on paper now. So.
Okay, and I have a follow-up too. And my second question is basically 3 through 5, traffic safety and education, dovetail more with RCMP and the policing portion of community safety. Do these municipal enforcement priorities dovetail with what's happening with our policing goals? We were able to have a few conversations lately with the new staff sergeant, and how do these, as a municipal enforcement set of priorities, match with policing and priorities?
Great question. We're actually hoping that coming out of that seminar from the RCMP, one of the themes we heard was that, you know, the RCMP are dealing with a lot of files, a lot of similar nature files being the property crime, that there's some staffing issues, and that, you know, the members are putting in a lot of overtime and they're stretched thin to a certain extent. We're hoping that we can assist the RCMP by helping our residents get out in front of that stuff and engaging in preventative action that might take some of those files off of the books of the RCMP before they ever even happen. So along the lines of that community education campaign about property theft, for example, we feel a lot of the calls that the RCMP are engaging in for those activities are sort of the low-hanging fruit, that the criminals are being opportunistic with, you know, walking down an alley, peeking over hey, there's a jerry can that's not in the garage, let's grab that and run. And subsequently that call makes its way to the RCMP. The residents are frustrated because, of course, you know, with a large number of files on the RCMP's desk, items like that might not be immediately addressed in the, you know, priority of things. But I think we can have a noticeable impact to that type of stuff community-wide if we can get out in front of it and educate the residents to prevent that from happening in the first place. So absolutely, we're hoping there's going to be a large degree of collaboration there.
Councillor Lemko.
Yes, I like the plan. I think we discussed it at length the other day. I see this as more of a strategic plan, like overarching. I'd like to see the operational, how this is going to come to fruition, and that there's measurables. I mean, we could talk about this next year, and we'll say, well, we had X number of derelict properties that we now have half of. That there's a plan in place, because we can just go on and this was our plan, and I'd just like to see a little bit more added to it down the road if this is adopted.
Councillor Bullock.
I'm also good with what's going on here. Definitely want to have those derelict properties looked at and handled. The unsightly properties as well, and just want to make sure we're all treating everybody equally when it comes to that. It's good to clean up the community, and it's going to look good for everybody going forward, make it more attractive when people are coming through. So definitely looking forward to this rolling out.
Okay, so I do agree with Councillor Lemko. There's got to be measurables in here. I mean, we can just say something, and we need to, at the end of the day, to say that this is what we've achieved. Because without that, we don't know. I mean, we thought we were there a while ago. And again, this is not on you or on Alan, but we already thought we were there. And of course, that didn't happen. So we would like to see some measurables put in here, and that we are notified, okay, over the last year, out of the 9 properties we identified, 5 of them have taken care of. This is the course of action on the other 4. So if we can keep some records there. After the town hall, the RCMP town hall the other day, and just hearing from the staff sergeant here, you're right. Jerry cans are not on their priority list. Somebody painting your fence. I mean, there was people complaining about petty crime that there was no report written on. Yeah, well, they're half-staffed over there. And I don't think the staff sergeants had a weekend off in a month and a half. And they are going as hard as they can, and they're not just in town, they're out of town. We're going to try to find out what's going on that, our admin, and we're going to be talking to K Division about how they're billing for all this, but it is the reality. So I do not, or I'm not against this education piece, that we get it out to the public. They can help themselves too. And everybody has a role to play in this. And because when we're tying up the very precious time that we have, we thought we had 8 officers, but in reality, we probably only have 4. And their time is spent on so many issues, mental health issues. I don't know if everybody who wasn't there, it was brought up, about us letting go the school resource officer. I took care of that. And some people were thought maybe that's a place to go, we should look again. And the first thing the staff sergeant said, that's the last thing I want. I want somebody, one of these officers that can assist with mental health issues, because it's tying up so much of our time. And it's crazy that they drive them to St. Paul or to Ponoka or to Edmonton, and again, another officer has to come out to cover that shift on overtime. So what were our expectations of the RCMP right now? I think we're expecting too much with the staff leveling they have, the levels that they have. So for us to go out and do an education piece, I do believe it's important. And, like tying up our municipal officers, going door to door to see if they're, exactly how they lock their door and everything. But I do think that we need to get a campaign out there and tell people that they're responsible for a lot of this on their own, that they need to take a good look in their yards and don't be a victim on purpose. So I agree with that. I don't know what the timeline for the changes in the AGM are, but I hope this the first one ties in with those timelines, so that we'll be protected there. So other than that, I think this is something that I will support on Monday night, if you're ready to bring this on Monday. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get to these directors' highlights right after our round table, which will be very short. We're going to start with Councillor Rudick.
Thank you, Your Worship. As you know, I've been tuning in virtually because I haven't been home when we've had council meetings the last couple of weeks. I have had a few questions from people about some of the plans that the town has coming forward. So they appreciate some of the sharing of information that has been coming, but people are curious and they're interested and they're asking a lot of questions. So they're asking about not only what's happening with the town's plans outside of this building, but they're also asking what's happening inside this building. So I've heard a lot of conversation about, seems like things are happening and people are asking about what exactly is happening. So there's a lot of curiosity. And I've heard it from a lot of people that I don't actually hear from usually. So that's been an ongoing conversation.
Are you referring to staffing changes and
Staffing changes,
levels?
staffing levels, and maybe part of it too is that we're sharing some of this more than we may have in the past historically, but to the public, it feels like there's a lot of action in terms of our staffing inside the parameters of our organization, but also the feeling like things are happening in the town. So there's a lot of questions, which is good. They're interested in what we're doing. And part of it is the good and the bad thing about sharing information with the public. Then they get used to being aware of what we're doing and they want to know more. So that's the questions that I've been getting.
Okay, well, I appreciate the fact that we're being very transparent about what we're doing. And there was a mandate given to senior admin on where we would be at over last year's payroll in positions, and I'm expecting Director Saskew to give us a report. And I hope senior admin stays within those guidelines that we talked about, because we all know what will happen after that. We'll have more discussion. Okay, thank you very much, and nice to have you back. Councillor Lemko.
Thanks, Your Worship. Sitting on the RCMP meeting, sat in on it and the discussions that went around the town hall there. And some of the participants that were there asking the questions. I just want to put my support behind the RCMP in a big way. They're short-staffed, and some of the discussions with Sergeant about the community, like the neighborhood watch and all those, where there was a day when you could do that, and the day now is that vigilantes out there trying to catch a criminal. The criminals are more apt to take you out and proceed on their way because they can't get put away for long enough to see the officer out of the judicial system before they're back doing what they do. Less than 12 hours later, on the news, 2 police officers were killed in Edmonton. I just want to send sincere condolences out to the families and the Edmonton Police Force and the RCMP for the challenges they face every day, not knowing what they're walking into and doing what they do to protect us as citizens. So kudos to them. I have nothing but admiration for the police forces out there. That's my report, Boss.
Thank you. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree, Councillor Lemko, as well stated. I had an opportunity to be with members of other communities on the weekend for the provincial soccer tournaments and stuff. And I was actually quite surprised by a few of them that were complimenting how Vegreville is moving forward. They have picked up the news releases and et cetera with some of the things that are happening here right now. And they're saying that it looks like we are starting to move ahead of them. So I felt that was quite pleasing to hear from places like Bonnyville, St. Paul, Vermilion. They're all paying attention to the fact that it appears that maybe we're stepping out of the shadows and starting to move forward. Other than that, not a lot to say other than that I noticed that the snow is melting a bit and there's some water on top of the river, so people need to start thinking about the fact that the river ice is not going to be safe pretty soon. And I'm expecting that it might get high this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bullock.
Okay, as for me, agree, of course, with Councillor Ruda, Lemko, and Barry have all said, was at the RCMP Town Hall as well, and we could probably just lend a hand to the RCMP also by just keeping our eyes and ears open and getting information to them when we see something, even if we think it's insignificant. Just make a note of it, get it to them. We got to help them as much as they can. They're short-staffed. We understand those problems, and the more we put it out there to the public, maybe we can help them along. Another thing for me on the weekends, attended the Vegreville Speedway snowmobile races that were held out at the event center behind the museum in that area. Well attended, over 47 entered snowmobiles to race. Lots of spectators. Probably the farthest spectator had an Ontario plate, and they told at the gate they were from Ontario, Lloydminster, from the surrounding areas, towards Bonnyville. That we were all coming to town. A lot of people from out of town, they're dropping money in our community. So it just goes to show you that these events do mean something to our community, even though if some people think they're small when they're actually not that small. So it was good to see that. There was really good interest and support for the VTSS that did the concession out there. It's great. All the spectators and racers really supported them well, and I heard a bunch of them were looking for restaurants later coming into town. So keep up on the good end of it here, working with our tourism board as well. That's very important to our community. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. I really haven't had too much feedback, negative feedback anyway. I mean, the RCMP Town Hall, we didn't get a lot of direction from the community where they think that the policing should go. But I think they got a lesson on what's going on with policing right now, and I think we all know where the problem is, and it's not with the RCMP. So I was highly encouraging them to reach out to their MLAs and their MPs and just to keep writing, and because it isn't fair that
Thank you, Your Worship. What do I have for you guys today? So we have been continuing work on our virtual town hall implementation. We've been having weekly 3-hour touch-base meetings, going through the implementation of the website, what functionalities are available, and that's going well. I should have a report to council probably at the next ledge meeting, going through the go live dates. So we're getting close. I think next week we're going through a go live readiness. So it is in progress and it will be available for public rollout soon. Also wanted to note that we have sent in the information that we need to for 2023 tax notification listing. So that's for the properties that have been delinquent for 1 year carried over. So basically 2 years of taxes unpaid. We have submitted that list to land titles and are sending out letters shortly. As well, we have prepared the 2023 tax sale listing. There's currently 4 properties on it. We have forwarded that to our assessor to get a opinion on fair market value for those properties, and then we will be bringing an RCD to council, the next ledge and council meeting, to set a tax sale date and reserve bids on those 4 properties. So that will be coming down the line as well. Update on our 2022 year-end audit. I know, exciting, but the Wild & Company is working on completion of the financial statements and the remainder of the audit. The statements are presented in draft form, tentative for April 18th, and finalized statement and formal presentation from Wild & Company will be on April 24th. So those are the 2 slated dates for that. As you were asking about a budget review, the 2023 Q1 budget review is slated for April 4th legislative meeting. So March 31st is the end of the first quarter. We'll do an update on the capital and special projects at the same time. So you guys will get a budget review coming up. And then one more thing that I'm looking for is consensus of council on the breakdown of residential versus non-residential taxes. In the last 4 years, we have had a 47% residential and 53% non-residential breakdown. I looked at the assessment that we have received from the assessor for 2023. Our residential versus non-residential breakdown is very comparable. So this year, 67.2% is residential. Prior year was 66.2. So within 1%, that's the percentage of residential assessment over total taxable assessment. And for non-residential, it's 32.8 for 2023 versus 33.8 for 2022. So long story short, I know this is a lot of numbers to think of in thin air. If we keep our residential versus non-residential split the same as prior years, 47-53, it will not have a significant impact based on the assessment that we have presented to us right now. So we had marginal increases in taxes, But overall, the general tax bill that someone would be receiving would be very comparable to the prior year with the rates that we had set, and if we continue to go forward with them.
Okay, thank you. So is there any discussion on this split that everybody understands? It's been a few years since we have adjusted. I mean, it was a lot higher on the non-res at one time, and we brought it back, I think twice we've made adjustments to bring it back a little closer to help out the non-res side, but non-residential side. So if there's gonna be no, this will be coming on Monday, right?
This isn't the formal tax bylaw, so it's officially formalized at the tax rate bylaw, but it's nice to just have some
Consensus of
general
council
consensus,
that
yeah.
It's not gonna change after you do the next
Yes.
step. So, I mean, I don't see anybody here that wants to make any changes to it, so I think you'll be safe.
Okay, perfect. And then that will be coming in April as well, so that will be the 2023 property tax bylaw.
And would you say that all the employees in our organization have received their T4s and that that's all done?
That is all done. We have completed all of those things. The WCB return, those were all due for the end of February.
Okay, and the auditor, there's been no highlighted items so far, like they haven't.
Not so far, no.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Director Saskew. We'll move over to Director Lefebvre.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple of points here today. Currently, our infrastructure coordinator, Brian Giles, is continuing to job shadow for the cemetery clerk duties and the Stone Orchard software management to become part of her duties, as there's a retirement happening upstairs, and we have one employee that's on long-term sick leave at the moment. So Brian has stepped up to assist in that area for us. Municipal Services Manager has notified other metal collectors in the nearby area and our local contractor that the metal collection contract is due and is on the Alberta Purchasing Connection, so that's been sent out. So we can sign up another term to secure someone for a few years. We did book the large shredder for the landfill for mattress destruction. We have about 300 to take down and make them much smaller. So we'll see how that goes soon. And then we have our workshop coming up on the 27th of March, and I'm pulling together information for discussions with Pinchin Environmental regarding 4846 50th Ave. For some studies have been done, 2 of them have been done for a secondary phase 2 environmental site assessment, and now we can expand that site assessment very shortly as the foundation is leaving, and we're getting some costing, some options for council and senior admin for the March 27th workshop is one item we're working on. And also we're working on a couple other items for the workshop, which will include the future direction of public works and equipment facilitation, how we're going to manage some operations there. And also with Prosperity Industrial Park, we are pulling together some good numbers and they're easy to follow, move along a little history of how we got to where we are for our topsoil and some other things going on at Prosperity Industrial Park as we get ready for a spring start here, probably another month, maybe more. Be nice, get those tires turning and get some dust flying as soon as we can. So that's what we'll have for the workshop, and that's my report unless there's any questions. There will be one more snowfall.
So, just on that note, at the workshop, there's gonna be a lot of stuff, involved there in that working meeting, so as everybody can just try to stay focused and be on time, and there will, yeah. Did I say that?
You did, that was outside, that was your outside.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Director Lefebvre. Next up, CAO highlights.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just going over the action item list here. So this will be the last action item list on the agenda for March there, of course. So I'll condense it down for April and remove the completed items. Just to briefly talk about a few, as Director Lefebvre had mentioned there, item number 2, the dirt piles at Prosperity. as well as the other item. There's another mention of it there below. That'll be addressed at the March 27th workshop. The public item number 21, public skate. Council was asking whether or not that was included in the family pass. I did confirm with the manager of Parks and Recreation. It is. The access to the rink is included in that pass here. So confirmed that last week.
That's kind of strange. Dan knows, but nobody else does? Oh, sorry. Rec manager knows and nobody else knows.
He seems to think that there's members of the public using it, so that's part of the pass.
Has anybody here ever heard of that? No. Me neither.
Okay,
People-
I'll
people
double
pay
check
for
then.
shinny.
It's only in the aquatic centers that pass is good for.
No,
Shinny, the number of kids that play shinny is probably like a handful.
Yeah,
A
probably
handful, and they bring $3 or $5, and they pay for it every time.
okay. He told me right over the phone that he considers the family pass to include the public skate, so I can check again.
Well, I don't know who would have brought that. It's not on our fees and charges bylaw. It doesn't state that in there anywhere, and we've never seen it in the community ever happen before.
Okay.
So that's all I'm saying.
Yep.
It's news to all of us.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I'll ask a few more questions. Where else? Was a couple more I wanted to discuss here. Yes, item number 18, the unsightly commercial property there downtown. Just to make council aware, dialogue has been happening, and municipal enforcement did issue a letter to that property owner requesting that it be remediated by April 30th. So we'll see what their response is on that item. Then last but not least, yeah, just a couple of items to be discussed at the March 27th workshop, the reserve balances, and then the Prosperity Park update. And that's it for me.
Well, it looks like we're gonna have to give you some more boxes in here pretty soon. Any questions for the CAO? Okay. Get up pretty easy in that one. Not even one question, Chris. Oh,
I got 4 already listed for tonight to be added to the next round of it, so, yeah. Onward and upward.
okay, so everybody sees the upcoming dates where we're gonna be at, and we have one closed session item to move into here, so is there any other business of council? Seeing none, we'll go into closed session regarding, how did we term that, Sandra? Okay. Councilor Berry makes the motion. All those in favor? Carry.